In the top stories, educators praised on World Teachers' Day. Guyana's army set to join police in enforcing COVID-19 measures, and U.S. President Trump leaves hospital. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Tuesday, October 6, 2020. I'm your presenter, Shaira Flanders. Nationally, St. Kitts and Nevis joined the rest of the world on Monday to celebrate World Teachers' Day. In an address, Minister of Education Honorable Jonel Powell commended teachers for their ability to adapt to the challenges of teaching brought on by COVID-19.
Here in St. Kitts and Nevis, teachers at all levels must be highly applauded for the many roles that they continue to play during this time of crisis. The issue of teachers stepping out of their comfort zone and assuming leadership roles is not only timely but critical in terms of contributions that they have to make to provide remote learning, to support vulnerable populations, to reopen schools safely, and to ensure learning gaps have been mitigated.
He added that teachers have been instrumental in assisting to curb the spread of the coronavirus by participating in health screenings, enforcing the wearing of masks, and making themselves available to be trained in online teaching. The education minister also spoke of the use of technology to deliver education in a virtual environment.
With respect to the delivery of education services, St. Kitts and Nevis adapted innovative and flexible ways during this crisis. For example, the deployment of digital education, such as moving the curriculum and instructions online, in addition to low-tech options, such as television, radio, and mobile apps, WhatsApp, phone, or social media, were adopted to provide pedagogical guidance and support for teachers and parents. School closures presented the government of St. Kitts and Nevis with opportunities to close the digital divide or gap between those who had internet access and those who had limited or no access.
He said the pandemic is helping to bring to the forefront the use of automation and the significant role it will play in the process of teaching and learning in the future. Minister Powell concluded by once again saluting the teachers of the Federation. In other news, in preparation for World Post Day this week, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Public Infrastructure, Post and Urban Development, Honorable Sean Richards, joined Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, Darrell Lloyd, Communications Officer, Sharena Warner, Postmaster General, Dario Gill, and the staff at the Postal Services Department to attend a special church service at the Emmanuel Methodist Church on Sunday. The church service was held to officially open the Postal Services Week of activities. World Post Day will be celebrated on Friday, October 9th, 2020. And as we wrap up local news, another edition of Leadership Matters, the government's virtual forum series, is tonight, with Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris headlining its 23rd installment on ZIZ TV, radio, and online at www.zizonline.com from 8 to 10 p.m. Joining Prime Minister Harris on the panel to answer questions and listen to the concerns of the public will be Chief Medical Officer Dr. Hazel Laws. The call-in numbers for Leadership Matters are 1-869-466-2666, 662-8674, 767-4765, and 1-239-645-4500. Questions can also be sent via WhatsApp to 869-661-5683. We now move on to news on the regional scene in Guyana. 500 soldiers will be joining police ranks in stringently enforcing rules on wearing of face masks and physical distancing as local economy opens up amid the steep rise in COVID-19 cases and deaths. Tamika Rodney of HGP TV News has more.
With September on record as the deadliest month for COVID-19, with 41 deaths for the month and the cutback of the curfew hours for the month of October, the government of Guyana is aiming to contain the spread of the disease by intensifying its enforcement strategies. The alarming skyrocketing trend seems set to continue into the month of October, as 3 new deaths were recorded on the first day of the month and 9 in the last week alone. Against this backdrop, on Thursday, the National COVID-19 Task Task Force officially launched Operation COVID Curb, which is geared at providing stricter enforcement of the COVID-19 emergency measures. Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force, Brigadier Godfrey Best, during a media briefing disclosed that under this new initiative, hundreds of soldiers will be deployed across the country to prevent curfew breaches.
The GDF will deploy no less than 500 troops alongside relevant stakeholders and partners, and we will interface with citizens utilizing a soft, cogent approach to ensure that citizens wear masks and wear them properly, practice social distancing, adhere to the restrictions of social events and curfew timings.
Brigadier Best noted that the soldiers will simultaneously continue to secure the country's borders. Meanwhile, Commissioner of Police Acting Nigel Hoppy pointed out that the Guyana Police Force will continue its public education and advisory campaigns in an effort to sensitize Guyanese about their social responsibilities amid the pandemic. Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony was later asked whether the decision to reduce the curfew hours could result in increased transmission of the disease. He responded by alluding to the delicate balance between health and the economy.
So what we are trying to do is to have a balance between protecting lives and also livelihoods. And that balance, we feel that if we increase or reduce the hours of curfew, that people can be allowed to carry on with their economic activity, but under the rules.
The new menu of measures to contain the spread of COVID-19 allows for supermarkets, beauty salons, barbershop, gas stations, clothing stores, restaurants, and other businesses to operate from 4 a.m. to 8 p.m., while prohibition has been maintained on the operation of cinemas, private parties, competitive sporting events, gyms, and other social activities. During the month of September, the curfew was observed from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Businesses were ordered closed by 5 p.m. Tamika Rodney reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
Grenada's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell scoffed at critics who believe that he is too old to take up the position as Minister of Youth. Dr. Mitchell says that he feels he is in the best position to do so and promised radical changes to improve the impact of government-initiated programs to promote youth empowerment and development. We hear more in this GBN News Report.
Some critics who oppose the move by Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell to assume the responsibility as Minister for Youth Development say the 73-year-old should leave that position for a younger minister. GBN put a question to the Prime Minister through Press Secretary Philomena Robertson, and this was his response.
Well, maybe they're right in some ways, but I feel that this is the right time with my experience and having dealt with young people consistently over the years. Note that I've always kept in touch with what's happening to young people, and as the minister responsible for ICT, the minister within, of course, in the country here and also in the Caribbean region, and playing a major role internationally also in that area, I feel I have a responsibility, and that's a key area of opportunities for young people.
Dr. Mitchell took the oath of office on Friday to begin his new role next week Monday. However, he makes it clear that his stint in the Ministry of Youth Development will not be a long one.
I felt that this is the right time with my experience in managing the affairs of the country to give that sort of experience and expertise, and in those key areas, using that as a basis for connection with young people to be able to make the kind of revolutionary decision that we have to make to change the atmosphere in that program. And I don't intend to keep that portfolio for too long. I intend to do what I have to do and then turn it over to another person who is capable of taking it from there to move it forward.
On Wednesday, Dr. Mitchell highlighted some projects he has interest in amending, such as his pet project, the Imani program. Speaking passionately about one of the ministry's flagship initiatives, Dr. Mitchell said Imani trainees should not maintain that status quo beyond 2 years.
Providing a service in the private sector, and that therefore a period of time, the private sector should create an opportunity for full-time employment within 2 years. And therefore, anything afterwards cannot be accepted. Similarly, in the public sector, we cannot be using those young people for 3-4 years working in various government ministries, doing full-time work that some permanent public servants are not doing, and they have to get just the stipend for the money without no security. It's extremely unfair.
He sounded a warning that ministries and businesses will lose the benefit of Imani trainees if they cannot find adequate placement for them after a specified period. He said as Prime Minister, he accepts part of the responsibility for this because it happened under his watch. Cherry and Blackman Stephen, GBN News.
On the international scene, U.S. President Donald Trump has returned to the White House after spending 3 nights in a military hospital where he received experimental treatment for the coronavirus. Keen to get back on the campaign trail, Trump told Americans, quote, to get out there and not fear the disease. Al Jazeera's Mike Hanna reports on that story.
The president arrives back at the White House. He walks from Marine One and up the stairs to the balcony of the residence. Then he stops and removes his mask, a salute, and ahead an unspecified number of days in quarantine. Doctors say he'll be working from this residence and will not at this stage return to the West Wing, where the staff workspaces are located. Shortly after arriving at his residence, he posted this video.
And now I'm better, and maybe I'm immune, I don't know. But don't let it dominate your lives. Get out there, be careful.
The President's Day began with a torrent of tweets on a variety of subjects, with most urging his supporters to vote, and Election Day now a matter of weeks away. And doctors would not speculate about when or whether the President will return to an in-person as opposed to virtual campaign, warning that he's still in recovery.
Though he may not entirely be out of the woods yet, the team and I agree that all our evaluations, and most importantly, his clinical status, support the President's safe return home, where he'll be surrounded by world-class medical care 24/7.
There were inevitable questions about whether the President's sudden decision to drive by supporters outside the hospital Sunday evening put his Secret Service agents at risk.
The President has been surrounded by medical and security staff for days wearing full PPE. And yesterday, the U.S. Secret Service agents were in that same level of PPE for a very short period of time. We've worked with our infectious disease experts to make some recommendations for how to keep everything safe down at the White House for the President and those around him.
The President's press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, is the latest White House staffer to test positive for COVID-19. 2 of her assistants and a number of journalists joining the increasingly lengthy list of those working at the White House who've been infected. While attention has been focused on the president, much of the country is still in the grip of a pandemic. In 34 states, the 7-day average of infection is higher now than it was a month ago. In the past 24 hours alone, more than 40,000 new cases have been recorded. A few miles away from the White House, these chairs represent those who have died. A poignant reminder that for more than 210,000 Americans, the outcome was different. Mike Hanna, Al Jazeera.
2 American and 1 British-born scientist won the 2020 Nobel Prize for Physiology or Medicine for work in identifying the hepatitis C virus. Al Jazeera's Leah Harding reports.
Getting a blood transfusion used to be a gamble. There was an unknown disease causing liver damage, and it wasn't hepatitis A or B. In 1989, 3 scientists were able to clone the unnamed virus and called it hepatitis C.
This year's Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine awards the discovery of the hepatitis C virus.
Americans Harvey Alter and Charles Rice, along with British-born scientist Michael Houghton, are considered pioneers in their field. The Nobel Committee says thanks to their discovery, highly sensitive blood tests for the virus are now available. Their discovery also allowed the rapid development of antiviral drugs directed at hepatitis C. For the first time in history, the disease can now be cured. Hepatitis C is a chronic disease found in the blood that can cause liver cancer and psoriasis. Many sufferers need liver transplants. The World Health Organization estimates more than 70 million cases worldwide, with 400,000 people dying from the disease every year. The discovery happened so long ago that the scientists weren't picking up their phones from the Nobel Committee to get the news.
I called them a couple of times before without any answer, but once I reached them, they were extremely surprised.
It has taken decades to fully measure the impact of their discovery.
It's critical to go to the beginning to really understand the basic original discoveries that have really enabled. There's so much else that has happened, so many advances in therapy, etc., but that's made possible by this initial discovery of the actual virus.
The disease primarily strikes stigmatized populations, like illegal drug users and the poor. In developing countries, contaminated medical equipment or procedures infect millions. And in developed countries like the US, unscreened blood transfusions and needles can spread the virus. And when it comes to the latest virus pandemic, COVID-19, this year's Nobel winners offer hope for finding a cure.
But one like this should humble us in recognizing that doing good against viruses that are going to be associated with a lot of stigma, that's what science is about. Science is about defending those who feel stigmatized and oftentimes don't pursue medical care because of that stigma and shame.
Because of the pandemic, the Nobel announcement ceremony was virtual. And with no COVID vaccine, the celebration of other medical discoveries continues online too. Leah.
And now for the weather. Present weather shows cloudy skies with showers in the vicinity. Winds are east-southeast at 4 to 9 miles per hour. Today becoming mostly light and variable or calm tonight. Temperature for today is 84 degrees Celsius. Seas are 1 to 1.2 meters or 3 to 4 feet. Expect cloudy skies with a 70% or high chance of showers. There is also a 40% or moderate chance of thunderstorms during the afternoon with a 40% or moderate chance of thunderstorms tonight. Sunset today is 5:56 p.m. and the sunrise tomorrow will be 6:02 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your presenter, Shaira Flanders. Have a good one.